The 1990s were glorious years for Sister Kristiane Backer. Once a famous host on MTV Europe, she is now back as the talk of the town. MTV Europe was a stepping stone in bringing her one step further into the world of journalism by becoming a news anchor and even a TV station producer. The year 1995 was a turning point for Kristiane Backer. She met former Pakistani cricket athlete who is now Prime Minister Imran Khan and deeply influenced her to convert and become a Muslimah. Islam brought many changes in her life. She became more grateful and felt more plentiful. According to Kristiane, Islam teaches a more noble purpose than worldly pleasures. This is what inspired her. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You are back on our program Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni. We are now joined via Zoom with Sister Kristiane Backer, who will share with us her story of becoming mu'allah, a Muslimah, and how she perceives Islam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sister Kristiane, are you okay in London now?
Alhamdulillah, yes, thank you, I'm fine.
So, Sister Kristiane, this is very fascinating for me. First of all, please tell us about your first encounter to Islam.
It's quite a long time ago when I was first introduced to Islam. Perhaps I could say it was the very first time was on a holiday in Morocco with my parents and sister. And we were very generously invited by some local Moroccans who went out of their way to cook for us and invite us into their humble home, you know, and that lovely generosity was very kind and very touching. But, you know, then I had no more encounters with Islam until I actually met the current Prime Minister of Pakistan, who just was a cricketer at the time, and in fact it was just after the World Cup where Pakistan won the Cricket World Cup in 1992. And I met Imran then, and he was just in the process of finding his faith, finding Islam, you know, renewed. He had a great interest in Islam at the time, and he was always reading books on Islam and sharing books with his friends. And, you know, and I was really introduced to Islam through him.
Wow. Okay. So you are now living in a community where Muslims are minority. How do you keep going on living on that kind of community, and how do you perceive your surroundings with not so many Muslims around you, but majority are not Muslims, sister?
Well, look, I mean, now I'm very settled as a Muslim. It's, you know, I mean, what can I tell you? It's, everybody is accepted in London really for who they are, and, you know, you can really, it's a great cosmopolitan city. I'm very fortunate to be able to be in London. And that was one of the reasons also for me staying in London when my jobs with MTV finished. You know, the fact that London is so cosmopolitan, and there are halal butchers everywhere. There are a lot of mosques. But alhamdulillah, you know, thank you for asking. I feel very settled now and very certain in my identity as an art dealer, a Muslim, and living in London, being of German heritage. It all feels very natural. And no one really complains anymore. I mean, you know, at the time when I became a Muslim, I don't know if you're aware of that, it's a long time ago. I was an entertainment presenter. I was a VJ on MTV Europe, interviewing rock stars for a living, and I did that for 7.5 years. And you know, I was really up there, had it all. party invitations, red carpet treatment, meeting with the celebrities, traveling all the time, And suddenly, the news broke that I was becoming a Muslim. And that was regarded, it was quite a scandal at the time. Especially in Germany, where I'm from and where I'm more known. That nobody could imagine, and I lost my jobs as a result very soon after. And a negative press campaign first started, ridiculing me and saying she's supporting terrorism and has she lost the plot, these kind of questions. But then, I found another job here in England with another entertainment program. And then did many other things. But then many years later, like 11 years later or so, in 2009, I came back with my book. Actually, not with this one. This is the second edition. I came with a German book, From MTV to Mecca.
Yes,
writing about my story, explaining to people what happened. How come, the title is a summary of my life from MTV to Mecca in a few words. How come someone from a woman living at the forefront of the entertainment industry has become a Muslim and has stayed a Muslim when Islam is regarded as, a controversial religion and is not very popular in the West. People, by that time, actually, it was all regarded as, was perceived positively. Suddenly everybody was interested. How come? I got a lot of press coverage in all the media, all the television stations and newspapers, and it was all regarded very positively. So time had moved on, and people were just curious to hear what happened. I wrote the book to make a contribution, to actually tell people what Islam is all about. Everybody here in the West is scared about Islam, but no one knows what it means. And I was trying to make my contribution, with my book. I mean, you really need to be in the media game to win this war nowadays. If one is not in the media, it's like you don't exist.
We are still on Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni. We will continue our discussion with Sister Kristiane Backer. So, Sister Kristiane, what do you think Islam is perceived these days in the media? I mean, you said it yourself that you have been given a positive perception from the Muslim or non-Muslim community in Europe, but how do you see the media in general perceives Islam nowadays?
I have a feeling people already know a lot more about Islam than 20 years ago, say. People are more educated, and actually, you could say there are two trends. On the one hand, there are a lot more halal butchers and Muslims who work in the mainstream in the West. And there's much more understanding, and a lot of people have Muslim friends and are not so anti-Islam anymore. And then there's another trend where, perhaps also fueled by the radical, sort of the terrorist attacks in France and here, there, and everywhere, where people are just thinking, oh no, not Muslims again, they're always blowing everything up. And and people are worried about Islam being a violent religion and a security issue. And this, unfortunately, has a bad effect on the Muslim youth. Either they become depressed, or they become radicalized, or, suicidal, or they lose their faith and they call themselves Mo, and to try and fit in. Some suffer from this bullying, constant bullying. Anyway, we have challenges, no doubt. But I think, there's always hope, and we must never give up and keep the dialogue.
Inshallah. So as a media person, or once a media person, how do you try to overcome, to counter attack or counter participate then for the, you know, the negativity on such perception of non-Muslim to the Muslims nowadays, Sister Kristiane, as a media person?
Well, that's why I wrote the book. You know, this is exactly what I did. I wrote the book in order to tell people what it means to be a Muslim, what Islam really is all about, and that it is a religion of peace, and it you know, is very universalist. It includes believing in all the prophets that have come before, and I'm, you know, trying to build bridges with this book. And otherwise, yeah, if I'm interviewed, I always give the interview and trying and you know, make my contribution. I mean, you really need to be in the media game to win this war nowadays. You know, if one is not in the media, it's like you don't exist. So if the Islamophobes are spending millions, hundreds of millions to criticize Islam and put out false information, Muslims should do the same, you know, spend 200 million into promoting the truth of Islam, the real Islam. But sadly, Muslims are not very savvy at, generally speaking, at media, the media war, the media jihad. So there doesn't seem to be, you know, the investment there.
What about social media then? I believe that you have this new social media thing about the new Muslim community thing that you have been doing. Please tell us about it, Sister Kristiane.
Yeah, so what happened was in just before lockdown, the first lockdown, actually just before Ramadan, last Ramadan, well, one of the mosques nearby, the Al-Manar Mosque, suggested I do something for new Muslims, and I thought this would be a real pleasure to do. Because I'm, you know, I've been through, I'm now an old Muslim, but I've been through all the steps of becoming a Muslim all these years ago, and you know, I can probably advise people who are just about to convert or just converting, or, you know, or wondering whether they should or not. Anyway, so I said yes, and but then lockdown happened and it was Ramadan, so they asked me to give some Facebook talks, which I did. And then after Ramadan, we decided to continue doing something for the new Muslims, but it was lockdown, so the idea came about to do Zoom sessions. So I started these Zoom sessions every Tuesday night, and I advertise them on Facebook, and it's for new Muslims or people who are interested in Islam, and also born Muslims who like to just revive their deen a little bit and like to connect. And I'd love to invite you as well to talk on the Sharia economy, inshallah, one Tuesday. And it's, you know, we are people from all around the world, from Austria, from Lahore, from Miami, Algeria, South Africa, London, Germany, you know, Romania, you name it. Where even somebody from Malaysia, it was tahajjud time for them last time, and they tuned in. Australia, I mean, you know, it's amazing, and it's become this wonderful virtual home, virtual community, Muslim community. You know, because this lockdown has disconnected everybody a little bit, and everybody feels a bit isolated. We're missing the community, you know, we're missing meeting and sharing food together, and just being together, being inspired. I just want to say they can feel quite isolated where they are, you know. There are a lot of Muslims who are not really part of a Muslim community, you know. They're pretty much all alone where they are, and maybe do some online classes with ladies in Egypt to learn the Quran and stuff like that. And for them, this new Muslim, this virtual home has become like a virtual home and a virtual community, you know, with like-minded people and they're so active. I wish that, you know, that new Muslims wouldn't be so isolated anymore. You know, that it would be easier for them, to find be part of the majority Muslim community wherever they are. That's not always easy, and also to be less stigmatized, you know, amongst their own circle of friends and family, because some new Muslims, they really face challenges. You know, sometimes they even lose their own families when families are very anti-Islam. You know, I've heard of stories where parents didn't speak anymore with their children. But I tell you something, God does compensate, and God gives rewards, and you know, when He takes something, He gives you something else. So it's certainly an interesting journey. And it's just, alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to try to build a little bit of a support network.
Wow, very touching, Sister Kristiane. But
alhamdulillah, you must join us, please.
Yes, sure, inshallah. So, Sister Kristiane, thank you very much for your time and your sharing valuable experiences, your new Muslims communities around the world, and of course, your perspectives of Islam in general. We will be back soon with another guest. Please stay with us on Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni.
The main cause for our Muslim countries to be ranked in such low ranking is not the physical resources, but it's mainly the human capital resources.
The Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, or MILE, is a leading corporate social responsibility program dedicated to enhancing leadership capacity and entrepreneurial excellence in the Middle East, North Africa, and Asia. MILE has executed its strategy of building regional intellectual capital reserves by introducing a unique business model that ensures sustainability and relevant talent development opportunities for current and emerging business leaders. This value proposition has been enhanced by leveraging the combination of Medina's prestigious location with the affinity of the more than 1 billion Muslims around the world. We are still on Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni. We are discussing the theme Media for Leadership and Entrepreneurship in Sharia, of course. Joining us now is Dr. Mohamed Moustafa Mahmoud, the one that I would like to call him Dr. 3M. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. 3M. May I call you Dr. 3M?
Walaikum. Yes, sure. You are very welcome. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So, Doctor, we have been introduced by Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship. I would like to ask you, what was the key driver for establishing Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, or abbreviated as MILE?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Janwan. I am very happy to be with you today in Metro TV. It's my pleasure, and it's a good opportunity to pass my salam to all Indonesian people. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abu Khabar. To answer your question, MILE has been founded almost 10 years ago in the January of 2010.
Okay.
And the reason for establishing MILE was two things. Number one, what we call the leadership deficit gap. You know, the economic and social development indicators, the globally published one, they put most of the Muslim countries, unfortunately, at the tail of the ranking for many of the indicators. When you go in-depth analysis to find the cause, you will find always that the main cause for our Muslim countries to be ranked in such low ranking is not the physical resources, but it's mainly the human capital resources. What we need is enough leadership cadre which both are capable and trustworthy. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called in the Holy Quran, Al-Qawiyul Amin.
Okay.
So with the lack of enough leaders to undertake, and to look after the economic and social development programs, this is a real challenge.
Okay.
This is coupled with the second reason, which is that you look at the list of the top leadership development centers in the world. There is a list published every year by financialtimes.com. You will not find any of the top leadership development centers are listed, any among them are Muslim, are coming from a Muslim or Arab countries. So we have a big leadership deficit gap, and we don't have any top quality leadership development centers. That's why me and a group of my colleagues in Medina, we say to ourselves, if we don't do something about it now, then when? And if we don't do it ourselves, then who? And if we don't do it in Medina, then where? And this is how Mile was conceived 10 years ago.
Dr. 3M, if we talk about leadership, actually the term leadership is always included in the government. So is Mile a government organization or it is a private organization, doctor?
Yeah, this is a very good question. First, Mile cater for leaders from both government, private sector, and NGO, non-profit organization. We serve leaders from all of these sectors. But Mile itself is not a government and is not a private sector. Alhamdulillah, recently Mile has been converted into a waqf. So we have been announced as an Islamic waqf. So Mile now is owned and operated as a waqf, alhamdulillah. The last reason that makes us unique is our location in Medina. So when you are in the headquarters of Islamic leadership, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught the whole humanity about leadership development,
You are still on Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni. Now, Dr. 3M, I would like to get back with the fascinating question. You talk about leadership. So what is so special about leadership program offered by Mile, Dr. 3M?
Thank you, Mr. Yasni, for this question. I'm glad you asked this question because when we established Mile back in 2009, I visited 8 of the top executive education program and leadership development program in Harvard, MIT, Oxford, Berkeley, Babson, Thunderbird, and so on. And I tried to learn from all their experiences, but build a model which fits more our Islamic culture and the tradition. So I think what makes our program very unique, I should say 5 things. Number 1, the holistic approach for development. Most of the business schools, they focus on the mental development. They keep teaching knowledge to the participants and focus on the textbook, the theories, the case studies, and so on. We think that the holistic development of the leader should address 4 domains of development. First is the mental intellectual development. Second is the physical development. Al-aql al-salim fil jism al-salim. Sound mind resides in a sound, healthy body. So we have to look after the body. Number 3 is the heart, the emotional development, and how can we make the leaders trustworthy and charismatic leaders with his team. And the number 4 is the soul, the spiritual development. So when we design our training program, all of the moments of truth, since the participants arrive to Saudi Arabia, to Medina, until they leave us, they stay for us for 1 or 2 full weeks. We make sure that every activity, every minute, include an activity that contribute to mental development, physical development, emotional development, and spiritual development. So it's the mind, body, soul, and the heart. When they wake up in the morning, we have all our programs across from the Al-Masjid al-Nabawi Sharif in Medina. So after they do Fajr prayer, Alhamdulillah, after they do Fajr prayer early in the morning in the Masjid, they come to the hotel and they have, you know, aerobics training. So we have exercises. Then when they eat the healthy food, we select healthy food for them. Then we pick for them the best speakers, professors, and the activities go through on, you know, throughout the day until the night with executive coaching, psychometric testing, group activities, and so on. So the programs combine mind, body, soul, and heart. Number two, we use variety of subject matter expert and professor. We did not sign an agreement with one business school like Harvard or Oxford and so on to deliver the program for us. We don't do this. We know, for example, that Harvard is the best in strategy. So we bring a professor from Harvard only in strategy. London Business School is the best in finance. So we bring a professor in finance and so on. The other reason is the admission. We don't admit to any our programs except people who go through a selection process to make sure that they have all the potential to be a capable, you know, successful potential leader. And we create networking opportunities among them. The last reason that makes us unique is our location in Medina. So when you are in the headquarters of Islamic leadership, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught the whole humanity about leadership development, this is, you know, where you really get immersed in this historical rich culture of Islam. So we go and visit all the historical sites, not normal visit. When we go to, for example, Uhud, we talk about crisis management. When we go to Saqif Bani Sa'da, we talk about collective decision making in Islam. When we go to Al-Khandaq to visit Al-Khandaq, we remember about, you know, leadership and sacrifice and the crisis management and so on. So we try to integrate Islamic leadership styles of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with our curriculum.
All right. So, Doctor, you said about collaboration among leaders of the Muslim countries. How can MILE expand the opportunities of collaboration between leaders among the Muslim countries, Doctor?
Yes, this is a very nice question. Thank you for your question. You know, with all our programs, we create lots of networking opportunities. So the delegates who are coming to attend our program from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from Pakistan, from Egypt, from Oman, from all of the Muslim countries, even we have many participants from non-Muslim countries. We arrange for them forums and conferences and tours and field visits, which creates lots of opportunities for people, you know, to build a relation with each other. In addition to this, we arrange bilateral meetings. We also publish a weekly webinar. And this weekly webinar is published globally. So we get speakers from different countries to speak, and this creates virtual relationship among the Muslim countries. We have one last thing. I'm not sure if you know Dinar Standard. Dinar Standard, you know, is a very, you know, Dinar Standard. It's an organization which publish every year ranking of the top, I think 50 or 500, I forgot, Muslim companies. And they made an arrangement with MILE. So the CEO of Dinar Standard announced his annual, you know, ranking of the Muslim companies during our programs in Medina. And, you know, many executives come from the Muslim countries, and this creates an excellent opportunity for meetings and the networking among the Muslim leaders. So when they come for Hajj and Umrah, it's not only limited to going back and forth from the hotel to the Haram and perform the prayer. How can we enrich this experience?
You are still on Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni. So, we would like to know more about the Waqf, Dr. 3M. When we talk about Waqf, usually some derivations of some abbreviation or some terms come up, which is manfa'ah, or in plural in plural terms, it would be Manafi. Can you elaborate about Manafi, Dr. 3M?
Okay, thank you. You know, in fact, Manafi is a new initiative that Mile launched only about 2 years or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And let me explain you the historical background of this. You know, before Islam, people used to come for pilgrimage, for Hajj,
yes,
before
yes.
Islam. And we had markets around the Mecca region. People who come from all the countries, they used to bring their own products and they exchange the products with each other. In economic, we call it barter. So after Islam, people felt a little bit, you know, uneasy about doing business during the period of Hajj. And they thought that this might spoil the niyyah and the ikhlas of performing their Hajj. So they were reluctant to continue in their tradition of doing business during Hajj and Umrah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hajj, He said, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ فِي الْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ لِيَشْهَدُوا مَنَافِعَ لَهُمْ وَيَذْكُرُوا اسْمَ اللَّهِ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْلُومَاتٍ على ما رزقهم من بهيمة الأنعام فكلوا منها وأطعموا البائس والفقير. This is in Surah Hajj. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يشهدوا منافع لهم. During Hajj, people would come, make an invitation to Ibrahim, make an invitation to people. They will come walking and riding their camels. And when they come, they will do two things. They will perform their rituals, الحج والعمرة, and in the same time يشهدوا منافع. There is another ayah in the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah. It says ليس عليكم جناح أن تبتغوا فضلا من ربكم. You should not feel bad about it. It's okay for you to gain some worldly benefit during your Hajj and Umrah trip. So it means that we should do this. So what's happening today? When people come to Hajj and Umrah, they don't mix with each other and they don't barter with each other because there is no more exchange of products. Today we are in the knowledge economy. In the knowledge economy, we would like to have professionals from Indonesia, from Morocco, from Egypt, from Yemen, from all of the Muslim countries. They come and they exchange not products, but exchange knowledge. So businessmen from different disciplines, government leader from different, bankers, engineers, economists, all of the profession, they should come and they should take this opportunity to exchange information and have manafa. So in Mile, we responded to, in Saudi Arabia, His Royal Highness, Prince Mohammed bin Salman and King Salman, they launched the Saudi Vision 2030. And the Saudi Vision 2030 has paved the way to launch several transformational initiatives, which not only strengthen and diversify the Saudi local economy, but as well enable the kingdom to offer better services to a larger number of Hajj and Umrah visitors. So in the Vision 2030, there are several pillars. One main of this pillar is called Diyuf al-Rahman, the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ar-Rahman, which they are referring to the Hajj and Umrah visitors. So as you know, the King of Saudi Arabia is titled the custodian of the two holy mosques. And the kingdom realized that having Mecca and Medina is both tashrif and taklif. Tashrif means it's an honor. Taklif means it's a responsibility. So that's why in the Vision 2030, there was very clear direction that the Saudi Arabia should do three things toward the visitors of Mecca and Medina. Number one, enable more people to come and perform Hajj and Umrah, quantity. Number two, improve the quality of the services offered for the visitors. And number three, which is Mile is interested in, is enrich the experience of the visitors. So when they
Alright.
come for Hajj and Umrah, it's not only limited to going back and forth from the hotel to the Haram and perform the prayer. How can we enrich this experience? So Mile has launched, this Manafi initiative,
Alright.
which has many activities which will enable us to create opportunities for Hajj and Umrah visitors to have more rich experience. And in addition to making the Hajj and Umrah, they will go back with a stack of business cards and agreements.
Yes.
So they will go to the companies and say, I have the chance of meeting this professor or this businessman or this leader from this country, and we did a deal, we made agreement with this, we will have a cooperation with this. By doing this, creating this collaboration and networking opportunities, we will maximize the benefits of Hajj and Umrah and realize the Manafi and realize the vision objective of enriching the experience of Hajj and Umrah visitors.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. 3M. So I must try to conclude our discussion today with some conclusion, of course. So I would say that wasila in Arabic term or media in English term for leadership and entrepreneurship in Sharia is the key to communicate the ideas and the implementations of what has been done in the past, what is going on in the present, and what is about to be done in the future. This kind of media is important for individual as well as institutional to clarify and to magnify the goodness that is intended from the beginning. That was my discussion on this episode. I hope today's topic was enlightening and informative to spur Indonesia's spirit in becoming the Qibla or the center of the world's Sharia in the future, not just in economics, but in many other fields. We will meet again in more episodes of Sharia Economic Talk with Gunawan Yasni, with prominent guests from Indonesia and other countries. So, viewers, stay negative on COVID-19, but be positive for the world, for the hereafter, and I, Gunawan Yasni, and the entire crew bid you very well. Goodbye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Metro TV